Hello and welcome to Indo World Cup Daily. Well, it's come around pretty fast. Just 2 days to go now until Ireland's second game in the World Cup against Canada in Perth on Wednesday. The squad have landed in Canada, as has our reporter, Dave Kelly. Dave, I hope you're finding Perth pretty good there. A lot of travel, isn't there, for this squad in the tournament?
Yeah, they're racking up the air miles, indeed, and I suppose it's a good thing they had business class on the way over as well. Yeah, they got in yesterday into Perth, but I suppose as the old cliche goes in Vera Permich at the weekend, it's the same for both teams. Canada have to do a big trip as well from Melbourne. But yeah, it's a lot of time in the air, but I'm sure they're going to be well rested and recovered ahead of Wednesday's kickoff. A late kickoff. It's going to be, I think, 10 p.m. here, local time. I think we've lost. I'm gaining 2 hours and a 5.5 hour flight, which actually I think took half an hour less than it's supposed to take. So, it's still Monday. That's that much I do know. But yeah, so we're City 2, match 2, getting closer.
Yeah. Come here. I think we've had our quota of moon boots. I do not want to see another moon boot and another Irish player in a moon boot, because we've had Louise Quinn, obviously, wearing that protective boot. We're told for precautionary reasons. You were in the air flying at the time. Do we know if Louise trained today?
Yeah, no problems with training. It was just speaking of moon boot landings. She said it was kind of a tough landing at the against Australia when she was pressed into emergency action. She also has a visible shiner as well,
Yeah.
which is a remarkable rainbow of colors. So she's certainly collected a few war wounds from the game at the weekend, and I've literally just, as I say, landed here in Perth. But the messages are that everyone is okay in training. Just looking through even pictures now, and yeah, there's high fives going on, and yeah, no issues at all. So although there is an interesting, I suppose, sideshow, maybe related to Handshake Gate, Risha Littlejohn and Caitlin Ford of the weekend. Katie McCabe is according to FIFA, not at the pre-match press conference tomorrow. It's Kyra Carusa, who certainly can talk for Ireland. So that's kind of an interesting,
Usual, Dave.
It
is usually the captain, isn't it, on the eve of games?
Yeah, so Katie would have done her, as we spoke about last week, her very, very kind of competent, professional, poker face, professional pre-match. But yeah, it's Kyra Carusa tomorrow. Again, I just think Ireland are a bit hyper vigilant about their media access, or especially in terms of giving the Australians access. They seem to think they're rabid beasts from the 1970s, for some reason, which, okay, there's a few interesting interpretations of events on news.com about Katie McCabe's and their running battle with Hayley Raso last Thursday, but it was hardly stuff now which would scrape the gutter in terms of journalism. It was more just an interesting angle in terms of social media reaction, really, to a lot of the tackling and all that. But yeah, so that's just an interesting kind of it has no bearing on the game whatsoever. But again, just events I'm just picking up on since arriving here. But no, in terms of the team's health, physically and mentally, yeah, they look to be okay. So it's what the manager decides to do with them, physically and mentally, I think, is the big talking point.
Yeah, and come here, a lot of talk about what changes Ireland could make in the lead up to this Canada game. Obviously, Louise Quinn and Abby Larkin did so well when they came on against Australia, but making personnel changes isn't very Vera Pauw, Dave. What team do you think should start, and what team will Vera Pauw start against Canada?
Yeah, well, I mean, they vastly differ, because I don't think she's going to make any changes. I mean, Ireland can effectively get through this qualifying campaign and qualify for the last 16, and possibly England back in Brisbane. A disappointing England, by the way. I saw them on Saturday evening. Without scoring a goal. They could get 2-0-0 draws because
Points could be enough.
Australia can, if they can take care of the other opposition 2-0, it's head-to-heads don't matter. So goal difference would do it, and that would be Ireland. I think of Vera Pauw would getting through a group not scoring a goal. That would pretty much be their style. And it's interesting, Canada, I think apart from beating Chile 2-1, they didn't score a goal from open play at all en route to winning the Olympics in Tokyo a couple of years ago. So looking at it all in the round, and it's going to rain here, I think, from tomorrow. That deluges that you've been enjoying over there are visiting here. Maybe it's a celebration of the Ashes victory. I'm not too sure, but it's going to rain here tomorrow quite heavily, and I believe possibly up until match day. But it's hard to know. It's difficult with the forecast over here in the west to get it completely accurate. But so if you thought last Thursday was poor fare, this could be even worse because Canada aren't really an exciting attacking force either. So I don't think Vera is going to make any drastic changes. There's a possibility. There's talk about Marissa Shiva, but I think that's been more generated by outside noise as opposed to anything inside. I mean, she likes Marissa Shiva because she's a long distance runner, like your good self, in her youth, and she likes that energy. Lucy Quinn, say, as an alternative, doesn't have that energy, and I don't think Vera Pauw utterly trusts Lucy Quinn, especially getting up and down the pitch. Whereas Marissa Shiva may not always do the right thing getting up and down the pitch, but she gets up and down the pitch. I don't think Abby Larkin at this stage, she's the girl of the summer, possibly, but I don't think she's a starter in this team yet. Because then if Ireland, as they are wont to do against these big nations, and they have done the last 4 meetings with bigger nations this year, calendar year, if they fall behind, you can't bring Abby Larkin on.
Yeah.
So that's the bind she's in. So I think that's out in terms of a start. There's talk maybe that Sinead Farrelly, who I interviewed this morning in independent.ie, in the Irish Independent, that she may be sacrificed, but I think she did a lot of work covering for Heather Payne at the week against Australia, and I think she might be slightly untethered and maybe allowed to advance a little bit forward. And maybe you're just even looking, it's like a trench warfare, just advancing the team 5-10 yards up. Because as I say, Canada don't have that threatening pace that Australia did, and Australia didn't really show that without Sam Kerr. They couldn't get a link up going with Ford and Fowler. And they didn't have anything in terms of pace from midfield. The flanks didn't get going because basically they were funneling into 9 Irish defenders. Whether Ireland need to be that low, deep, whatever your nerdish phrase of choice is, I don't think they do. But that's the way Vera Pauw plays it. She likes to start off like that and kind of play her hand in contrast to the teams that are facing them.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, I don't mind the same team starting. It's more about, as I mentioned before here, the intent, the attacking intent, and the instructions that she gives and the freedom that she claims they have in the structure, but that's not always evident. We'll see how they go, but I expect something very, very similar on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, because there's been so many calls for Ireland, as you say, move, forward even 5-10 meters, be more aggressive, be more brave. But the fact of the way that this group has turned out, we're less likely to see that now, because there is a slight possibility that Ireland could get into the round of 16 on 2 points. We're still going to have that possibly that same approach, that conservative approach, because that might be enough.
Yeah, but exactly. I mean, and that's her gambit. But I mean, that also has an inherent gamble within it because the lack of an attacking intent means that you're in a defensive mindset, and that invites pressure. And the more pressure you invite, the more chances are created against you. Even though Australia, the manager will insist, did not create that much, and that is kind of true. Those baffling FIFA stats, which they're just like almost surrealistic paintings, really. They just dash colours on it. But, they claim that Ireland had more chances in the box than Australia. They definitely had more crosses. And Canada only had 2 shots on target in the entire game, one of them being a missed penalty. So, even though Canada have this reputation and they are higher ranked, even in Australia, they're not playing well. They haven't scored. They've only scored, I think, in 1 game out of only 4 games they played this year, albeit they beat Brazil in the She Believes Cup, but they're not in great form.
Looks like
They've
they're
an
going to have
aging
Jessie
defense.
Fleming back, Dave. They look
Yeah,
like
Jessie
they'll have their.
Fleming would be important. Yeah, in terms of
Yeah.
energy, like she a colleague of mine, an Irish colleague, saw them training, and she's still got a bit of strapping on her calf, but I think the plan was always to kind of not start her against Nigeria, to not aggravate the injury, and that they've been happy with the way that's worked out. She will give a bit of energy. You see her for Chelsea. She's energetic. But they don't really. I mean, it's ironic given the kind of chat we're having about Ireland. I mean, they did have a couple of Chloe Lacasse came on, and it was a very, very bright up in the flanks at the weekend, and Sophia Smith came on, and there's a lot of talk there that these players should be starting, because the team that started against Nigeria is very solid, and facing a similar problem that Australia had against Ireland. They're going to have to try and break them down, and they're not a team who are capable of breaking down a team. So it's just going to be, trench warfare and kind of stalemate stuff, which will suit Ireland obviously more than Canada. But Canada need to kind of get the win here, so they might have to take a few more risks, because they're playing Australia in game 3, and Australia will want to finish as top seeds. So listen, I mean, it's going to be a game of chess for a while in the rain, which is not going to be very pretty to look at. But that's this Ireland team, and as I said before, Ireland got here playing that way, and that's what made a lot of people very happy. So who are we to cavil, us romantics in the bleachers?
As you say, they're like Canada. They are under some pressure going into Wednesday's game. Sinead Farley, you mentioned her there earlier. There have been some calls as well about her starting place on Wednesday, but I definitely think she should start, even if she might only be able to last the 60 minutes. I think her influence is such that I think she is needed on the team. But you spoke to her, Dave, earlier today, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, she's a remarkable person. I mean, the story is well known about, she's out of the game 7 or 8 years after a very serious car crash, damaged her physically, and then, as we only found out about a couple of years ago, when she spoke to the Athletic, the sexual coercion she suffered at the hands of a coach that she trusted, and she it's like going to a weekly therapy session. She's still struggling to trust. I think she's still struggling to trust herself. But I think she's happiest, even though she got physically sick a day before the game, and she still has anxieties and nerves. But I think she likes being with this group of people, and that's a big help to her. But she was talking about how she had to write down in a journal. She journalizes. She wants to be a writer. She wants to write, maybe possibly in the future, and help other people on their journeys. But like, she literally had to write down after the game, Sinead, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Ireland lost, because she still has that. It needs that affirmation, because when she just can't trust her brain, because she's never been able to trust her brain, and she might look back and 6 weeks and think, well, maybe that was my fault, but now she knows it wasn't. So there's all this stuff going on with her. In terms of the field, like she says, she has 90 minutes. She played 90 minutes for her club before she came here. Obviously, this is a different level World Cup. I think a lot of what happened, I think she'd about, I had a look through the tape. She had a good, about 27 touches, I think, the other night. She did a lot of work helping out Heather Payne.
Yeah, at the back heel that time to Heather was, you know.
Yeah, that was in the
Great.
43rd minute. And I think it was Caitlin Ford again was in that little kind of pocket and getting in, and like Heather was doing great work, but like she was almost double teaming over there. So she was deeper than normal, but you know, like that was just class. And as you said, you know, she doesn't respect where she is in the field. She just plays by instinct, and that's probably the only time she's ever really free, because all of her life is still such a an immense struggle to just know herself and trust herself and other people. But it's almost like this game that almost destroyed her, she's falling in love with it again, and you can see that. So yeah, I think I think in terms of just somebody who can use the ball, hold the ball, can see, pick a pass. I mean, she's after Denise and O'Sullivan and Katie McCabe, she needs to be there, because so many of the others, Kira Carusa, okay, holder person, Marissa Shava, very fitful and energetic, but on the ball, you know, not always, can't always trust it. You know, the centre defenders are good at passing and moving forward, but in terms of attacking and knitting stuff together, you know, Sinead Farley has a touch of class. So, you know, I'd be
Yeah.
hugely surprised if she didn't play.